Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we had a very interesting UFC Apex event. UFC Vegas 104 went down this past weekend. We went 7-6 on predictions, so not the best card, but we still do go +1 in overall predictions. There were some results I was happy with, others I was kind of shocked by, but overall, 9 of the 13 fights were finishes, which you cannot complain about that. I predicted the main event wrong, but I am a Marvin Vettori fan, so I was hoping he would win, even though he didn't. We'll talk about what's next for all the fighters and what went down in every single fight on today's episode. As well, we have no new UFC fights that have been announced, no real new UFC news. I mean, if you want to consider news, Islam Makhachev, apparently his camp turned down Eddie Topira fight. That's the only news we have. So no new UFC news today. What we do have is reviews of 3 movies and 1 TV show, which I have watched over the last week or so. And I consider 2 of these movies amazing, 1 awful, and a good TV show if you're looking for something with plot twists and a very interesting ending. So without further ado, let's get into it. Lots of movies, lots of TV shows, and lots of fun on today's episode. And as well, stay tuned this week as we will be dropping our official 2025 March Madness bracket. We're going to make it live on the air. Last year we didn't do good at all because UConn just decided to repeat. But this year I think we're getting a new champ. It's going to be exciting. Let's get right into it. The first movie that it's not the first one I watched, but the first one we're going to be talking about, I figured we'd start with the bad first. And the first movie that we'll be talking about is The Electric State, starring Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown. Recently came out on Netflix, and it's basically, how do you even describe it, an American science fiction action-adventure film produced by the Russo brothers. As most of you would know, the people who directed the Avengers movies, Captain America Winter Soldier, movies like that. And the entire plot of this movie, but by the way, $320 million to make this movie. The entire plot is that basically robots became sentient. I have no idea how robots became sentient. And in the 1990s, Millie Bobby Brown's brother basically gets kidnapped. You don't learn that. You learn that like kind of along, but he gets kidnapped and is used to create like this AI type thing that is used for humans to control robots. And robots like eventually take over the world and they try and fight a war. Then they get exiled, and Millie Bobby Brown runs into Chris Pratt, who's a former military guy who's now just a loner, and they are going to find her brother and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not even a bad movie, which, by the way, 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6 out of 10 on IMDb. That just to give you a gist of how people are viewing this movie, it's just boring. They do the same run-of-the-mill jokes. They do the same run-of-the-mill things. Nothing is original. And the fact, like, the first off, the CGI looked amazing, which, by the way, it should for $320 million. But the only highlight of this is Chris Pratt's one-liners. And you even get this weird thing at the end where it's almost like he has feelings for another robot. Like, it is so weird. It's not the best movie. You get Ke-Huy Quan in this as well. Stanley Tucci plays the villain, which is always good. Anthony Mackie voices one of the robots. Woody Harrelson voices Mr. Peanut, and Mr. Peanut is like the leader of the robots. It makes no sense. And you also have Giancarlo Esposito, who's in kind of a different role that he's usually playing. He's kind of like the anti-hero to an extent. I don't know, as a change of character throughout. It's whatever. For me, it gets a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10, it's just because it left no impact on me. And I know Chris Pratt can deliver better performances. I don't know about Millie Bobby Brown. I feel like she's peaked with Stranger Things, if I'm being honest. She was better when she was little, but good for them. But the fact that Netflix threw out so much for this movie and it's receiving just such negative reviews, I mean, audience ratings are giving it a 4.0 out of 1,300. Can I read anything? This is from Beraz 2 days ago. The only reason I ever knew about this movie is because people are talking about how outrageously expensive it was and how bad it turned out to be. It's currently sitting at what feels like 177% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics are tearing it apart, and now that I've seen it, I get why. So pretty much, that's the gist for this movie. Not that good, which I feel bad. I feel bad that didn't do good, but I just feel like when the better movies out there, they don't need that much movie. that much money to make them as good as they are. So if you were thinking about watching this, I do not recommend it. It's not even one of those where it's like, oh, I hear how bad it is, I have to find out for myself. Don't even watch it. It doesn't move the needle. There's nothing shocking about this. It's almost like you're watching things and you're like, what is going on? Like, they just kind of skim over how robots became sentient as well. This Electric State can be left just to be on the roster of movies Netflix has. Now, on the docket of things that Netflix did good, we have the 6-episode, one season, just one little season of a show, thriller 0 Day. And 0 Day is actually very, very good. 6 episodes, stars Robert De Niro, stars Jesse Plemons, I believe his name is. He has been in a number of movies. You recognize him. Lizzie Kaplan's in this as Robert De Niro's daughter. You also get Connie Britton in this. Joan Allen makes a return. Matthew Modine, you recognize Matthew from especially Stranger Things. You get a lot of good people in this. Bill Camp, if anyone watched The Outsider, he was also in The Outsider. And the entire premise of this show is that Robert De Niro, he was the former president, and now we have a new president, which is some black woman. I've never seen her actress before. And there's an attack, and it's called 0 Day, and it's basically all electronics. Everything is hacked, and it says this will happen again. And it was crazy. Over 3,000 people died. And I'm not going to spoil anything about the movie, but I'm just going to let you fill in just what you need to know. And basically, the current president, she comes to Robert De Niro, the former president, George Mullen, and says, hey, I want you to lead a task force to find out who did this. And that's kind of the premise, is that Robert De Niro is leading a task force to figure out who did this. And his right-hand man is Roger Carlson, who is played by Jesse Plemons. His daughter, Lizzie Kaplan, Alexandra Mullen, she stars as his daughter in this, and it's very good. Very good acting, a lot of good plot twists, and one of the biggest plot twists, which I'll just let you know because you can kind of figure it out in episode 1, is that Robert De Niro is kind of going senile. He's kind of losing his mind, and it's affecting everything. But I mean, I honestly was surprised when I found out who the actual bad guys were in this. It's one of those where they introduce so many characters, you're like, oh, whoever it is, it's not going to catch you off guard. And when you find out, you're kind of like, dang, really? Almost doesn't make sense. As far as the series goes, it's basically a spread out movie. It's basically a 6-episode movie. And by the way, TV show has been kind of killing me as of late. I've started watching Invincible season 2, which is really good, but Severance has been so bad. I don't even recognize Severance season 1 or even the first few episodes. It's felt like a completely different season. So this was a refreshing take. Currently 53% Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm not too surprised by that, and a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. I agree, this is like a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. It's something good to watch. I mean, you can binge it in one day, binge it in one afternoon. It's how they kind of leave every episode up in the air, but good overall. The ending is very... it kind of leaves you with an open-ended ending. I mean, you can kind of guess what happens, but if anything, it's just kind of telling the story of Robert De Niro's character in his fallout of being formerly the president, the whole investigation and everything. And I mean, I'll recommend it. It's not going to win any awards. It's not going to go in the top 10 things I saw of the year because it's a series, maybe in series-wise. But, I mean, not too bad. Good movie. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything else I can say about this. As far as being a thriller, I think it does a good job as being a thriller, kind of mysterious. And you also get some really good... I say you can get connected to the characters pretty well. And when some of the characters, stuff happens to them, you kind of feel like, dang, no, I actually kind of like that character. So... 0 Day, very good, 7 out of 10. That is what it gets for me. Now, let's get into the top 2 movies that I watched. I mean, this was close because I loved both of these. But this one, it's going to come in just below, probably by a tad, but End of Watch. So End of Watch, a phenomenal crime action cop movie. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena, and they are phenomenal. Also, Anna Kendrick, who I didn't know that. America Ferrera, I didn't even know this. Frank Grillo, for goodness sakes, they had so many guys. David Harbour was in this as well. A bunch of actors who I feel like got their start here. It was really good to see. Watched this in the hotel down in South Carolina where I was hanging out at, and for spring break, and this was so good. I was locked in from the start. It's shot through a very unique camera style. where it's almost like found footage, but it's through a cop's perspective. Jake Gyllenhaal's also using his camera to shoot through some of it. Then you're watching it through security cameras. Then they're actually using real shots. It is very engaging. It really puts you on the streets of Los Angeles with these cops. It follows their day-to-day activities, shows the brotherhood they have. And going in, I felt like I could have guessed what could have happened because I had already known, like, not a spoiler, but almost like just from the title, End of Watch, you can just kind of assume something happens in this. But the ending hits so hard. I like legit tears were maybe swelling. They did such a good job getting you connected to these characters. It was amazing to see. Rough, unflinching, thrilling. Those are the things used here. The reviews all have about 100%. I mean, they give really good reviews for a budget of $7 million. I mean, this movie came out in 2012. Amazing. It gets an 8.2 out of 10 for me, and I mean, it sucks. It's like when it's over, you want more. You want more of these characters. You want more, but that's that. And it really shows you the bond that cops make and just kind of the grittiness they face. And, they start dealing with the cartel in this, and they have some really intense scenes, and it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I almost wish I would have seen this on the big screen because of how dang good it was. I honestly, I'm getting all excited about this movie again. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to rewatch it just because of I know what happens, but I'd rewatch it with someone for the first time just to see everything and see what they're doing, or their reactions to the film, if you want to call that. End of Watch, phenomenal. Please go check it out. I think, what you can watch it on? I watched it on regular TV. It's on YouTube, Sling, Amazon Prime, YouTube TV Premium. But 85% Rotten Tomatoes, 7.6 on IMDb. I love the Rotten Tomato score for that. I think it fits this movie perfectly. And I think, if anyone's going to be a cop, my boy Seth, he's going to be a cop. I almost feel like this would be him and a future partner one day. They'd have this type of bond. I mean, phenomenal, great, go check it out. But now, folks, let's get into what I think is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's a popular one. You've all heard of it, Good Will Hunting, but me and my boy Ryan finally got around to watching it last night, and oh my goodness, what a film. I don't really throw this out there, but I'm gonna say this. It gets a 97% Rotten Tomatoes, 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb. This is a 10 out of 10 film. This is a 10 out of 10 film. This was amazing. It's titled as a romance drama. It is just so good. It is so good. When it reaches the end and it ties back to other things that have happened in the film, and it leaves you with an open-ended ending, which is actually a good open-ended ending. Oh, it is so good. And when it starts out, you don't really know what this movie wants to be. And then eventually as it starts going, you're kind of like, oh, I see where it's going. Oh, I see where this is going. Wow. And what this movie doesn't do is it doesn't do typical tropes. It doesn't do the typical, oh, the guy and the girl get in a fight, they get back together. It doesn't go, oh, me and my boys, we've had this issue, we're all good at the end. It really feels real and gritty, and the entire background of this movie, how Matt Damon and, what's his name? These are two stars. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote this script to get into a prestigious acting school, and then this script was so good, it made it to the big film, the big screen, amazing. Stars the late, great Robin Williams. He is one of my favorite, if not my favorite part of this whole film. Minnie Driver is in this as the love interest of Matt Damon. You also have Casey Affleck in a role here as one of the friends of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. You have, Rachel Majorsky and Minnie Driver. They look the same. Interesting. Stellan Skarsgård is the one of the main professors in this. Very good. But, not too many people in the cast. Stars, basically to give you a little premise of this. Matt Damon is a super genius, but he hangs out with all of his friends who kind of just do nothing all day. They work odd jobs. They're all in their 20, 21 years old, and he's basically working as a janitor, and he solves a super complex problem. And then Stellan Skarsgård, this professor, is like, dude, this guy has to work for me. He has so much potential, but he's just kind of rough around the edges. He has to go to a psychologist with some court order, and that psychologist then brings them to his Stellan Skarsgård's former college roommate, who's also a professor in Robin Williams. And you kind of sees the bond Robin Williams and Matt Damon form throughout this. It stars a young Matt Damon. Guy was looking really good when he was young. Always loved seeing how good Robin Williams was. This is a 10 out of 10 film. 10 out of 10 film. And honestly, I feel inspired. I think me and Ryan, we're going to write our own movie script. That's how freaking good this movie was. I just want to experience it again for the first time. And, the ending is just so good. The ending is just makes you smile so much. And you're just like, there's no way that's how they end it. Because you're like, this is how the movie's ending. And then you're like, this is the actual ending. Just so amazing. So amazing. I have just nothing but praise for this movie. It gets as many thumbs up. What can I put two of my thumbs on my feet up on my big toes? It gets 4 thumbs up from me. I mean, this is phenomenal. You can watch it on Pluto, Hulu, Paramount, Disney, Amazon Prime. You can watch it anywhere. Go check this film out. It is worth every moment of your viewing time. It really just puts life in perspective about what's important, romance and connection and chasing your passion. And really at the end of the day, what matters more, material possessions or the connections we have with people. Amazing movie, 10 out of 10. And give you guys, if you listen to this, I don't throw that out often at all. Please go check this out. Phenomenal. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will not keep you too long for today's episode because I also have to make dinner. I record this on Mondays, sometimes Sundays, and I got to eat. Yo, boys got to eat. So we're going to talk about Marvin Vettori versus Roman Lidize 2, the rematch, otherwise known as UFC Vegas 104. And yes, 7-6 on predictions. And predicting the main event correctly leaves kind of a sour taste in my mouth, but other than my just average predictions, this was a very action-packed card. And kicking things off, you have Carly Giudice taking on Eunice Dubin. And one thing I was looking at for this was the odds. I was looking at the odds for this fight, all the fights, and I was just picking underdogs left, right, and center. When in reality, I should have been looking at actually how they've performed. And Carly Giudice is just a better fighter than Eunice Dubin. And Carly Giudice is now looking at a 4-2 record, and she's got all of her wins by knockout. I mean, great win for Carly Giudice. I knew she was good. 2 split decisions, had a fight of the night last June. It was due for her to get one. But a head kick knockout, minute and 40 seconds in, don't get much better than that. And Eunice Dubin, she was 6-0. She's now 6-1. Add her total to another undefeated fighter losing. I mean, it's utterly insane. All the undefeated fighters that are losing. And we're going to talk about a couple others on today's card. So I think for the future, I can't pick undefeated fighters. Oh no, Shavkat Rakhmonov, not Carlos Prates. Who was I thinking of for welterweight, middleweight? Who was I thinking of? There was some other undefeated fighter I had on my mind. Hamza Chimaev, maybe? I don't know. We're going to have to see. But great win for Carly Giudice, and a knockout like that really puts the women's flyweight division on noticing. There's tons of options. There's tons of options at women's flyweight. All 3 women's divisions, besides bantamweight. Bantamweight, you get one big win, you could break into the rankings. Strawweight and flyweight, you have to put in some work, but Eunice Dubin, 26, I think she'll be back. Oh, she's 28. Carly Giudice is 26. So Carly Giudice still has a ton of potential. Clearly is talented. Starting the night off with a knockout. And by the way, $50K performance bonus. Like I said, 9 finishes on the card. Beautiful one here. Carly Giudice, you're going to be a star. Eunice, I don't know if they're going to bring you back. You had a brutal knockout. But still, I don't think it'll hurt her too much. With that, we get into our next matchup, women's bantamweight action. And how about topping, I'd say? I love the Carly Giudice knockout, even though I picked Eunice Dubin, but I picked Priscilla Cachoeira to knock out Josiane Nunez, and she knocked her out 2.5 minutes in with just one of the nastiest punches I've seen. Puts Josiane Nunez lights out cold. Excellent win for Priscilla Cachoeira. And by the way, she had been on a 2-fight losing streak, dominating both of them, finished. This is a great way to bounce back. I utterly love it. As for Josiane Nunez, 3-fight losing streak, none worse than this. She's booted from the UFC. Josiane Nunez kicked out of the UFC in my playbook for Priscilla Cachoeira. Big knockout. Give her Chelsea Chandler in the rankings. Give her Jocelyn Edwards in the rankings. Give her a ranked opponent at bantamweight. I mean, come on. There's no killers at bantamweight. Priscilla Cachoeira, 13 wins now, 8 knockouts. This one was beautiful. Clipped her, and Josiane went down right away. It was just violent, and I loved every single minute of it. Priscilla Cachoeira, you're an absolute dog. After that, oh, by the way, 50K performance bonus. If I didn't mention that. Following that, how about another 50K performance bonus as the undefeated Andre Lima gets a win. So I guess I can't pick against every undefeated fighter, but Andre Lima improves to 11-0. Biggest win so far, getting to finish. I mean, good stuff for Andre. First submission of his career, I believe. Did he have another submission? No, he had 5 KOs, so this was his first submission. Andre making quick work of Daniel Bainez. Daniel Bainez finishing his UFC run 1-2, getting finished in both his losses. I'm sure they're going to cut him from the UFC. I mean, how old is Daniel Bainez? He's 36, yeah. Andre Lima, 26, young gun, up and coming. Beautiful work. 108 significant strikes to 33. He was dominating him. 161 total strikes to 34. Goes 2 of 2 on takedowns for 4 minutes and 50 seconds of control time. Round 1 outpieced him 47 to 26. Round 2 leaned on the takedowns. 56 significant strikes to 6. And then round 3 basically was like, I can take this guy down and submit him. Hell, I'm going to do it. And that's exactly what Andre Lima did. Love to see it. And I say we reward him. Flyweights are absolutely killing it right now. We just watched Joshua Van put on absolutely amazing performance last week. And now we have Andre Lima. Now for Andre, 11-0, 4-0 in the UFC. Number 50th ranked Charles Johnson is the opponent for you. It's really it. It's really the only opponent I can give him. Kaya Sakura needs to fight up. Ramazan Temriev is going to fight up. Bruno Silva, I think they should rebook the Joshua Van fight. Other than that, Tim Elliott feels like kind of a jump. So I think Charles Johnson would be a great opportunity to see if he can break into the rankings. If not, keep feeding up-and-comers to him because Andre Lima is no longer an up-and-comer. He is here. He is ready. And flyweight, you have another star on your hands. Following that, absolutely momentum killer. I knew this fight would be a dud, but not only did I pick it wrong, it was so boring. Stephanie Luciano drops a decision to Sam Hughes. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Sam Hughes plus 210. Cashing it as an underdog, and Sam Hughes now is on a 2-fight winning streak. Both of them split decisions. I didn't think she won this. I'm going to be honest. I picked Stephanie Luciano, but I was also biased, so we can't really say anything, but just tough stuff. Stephanie Luciano getting her little win streak snapped. What was it? 3-fight winning streak. So that sucks. But the split decisions are just boring any way you look at them. 82 significant strikes to 76 in favor of Stephanie Luciano. 1 of 2 on takedowns for Luciano for 1 minute and 15 seconds control time. Sam Hughes 3 of 8 on takedowns for 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Round 1 went to Luciano, and they gave round 2 and 3 to Sam Hughes, which, I can understand, but still, I was watching as a biased biased fan. So I picked Stephanie. She lost, and as for both these women, they just put on such a boring performance. They're nowhere near ready for a ranked opponent. When I look at the women's flyweight division, is that what they were in? Or were they in strawweight? No, these ladies were strawweight. Strawweight's even tougher than flyweight, in my opinion. There's no one. There's no one in the rankings right now they could beat. Maybe Tisha Pennington, even that, I don't think so. Tough luck for these ladies. Didn't win fight of the night. There was no fight of the night on this card, which is always a weird case. But good win for Sam. You get the sketchy split decision, and no one's going to question it left, right, or center. It's run-of-the-mill women's prelim MMA. That's what you get. But after that, we're talking about the biggest upset of the year, maybe so far. The biggest underdog on this card. I count him out. Plus 455, I gave him no chance in the world. Carlos Vera, proving me wrong, beating the undefeated Josias Musasa with a round 1 submission. Hello, good work, Carlos. And he did it in spectacular fashion. Dropped him with a head kick, then locked in a rear naked chokehold from the back. Carlos Vera, I absolutely love you. 37 years old, knocking off the 26-year-old. Great stuff. And hey, 1-1 now in the UFC, and he survived Rinya Nakamura. Get out of town. 12-4. We'll bring you back, Carlos. We'll bring you back. I don't know who you're going to fight at bantamweight. Going to be honest, there's limited options at bantamweight. He can fight the next guy. We're going to talk about Su Young-Yu. Let's just match them up on the same card. But great stuff from Carlos Vera. As for Josias, they'll bring him back. There's plenty of unranked bantamweights, but dude, if Carlos Vera is dropping you with a head kick and then submitting you, something's wrong. Carlos, 6th submission win of his career. Good stuff. Actually so happy for him, even though I didn't predict it correctly, but I just had a feeling. Looking at this Josias Musasa guy, I'm like, this guy's fought nowhere near anyone near UFC level. Meanwhile, Carlos Vera was on the Ultimate Fighter. He's fought in a UFC fight before. He's kind of been experienced. I should have rode with him. So we have to be more analytical with our predictions for UFC London, which I might actually be on someone else's podcast. May have to promote that. Exciting stuff. I'll have to let you know. But, yep, good win for Carlos Vera. Did what he had to do and got the submission in 3 minutes, 16 seconds. Not too bad. Austin, 316. After that, there was no more performance bonuses, but a lot more finishes. The finishes kept on coming. After this fight, of course, as Su Young-Yu leads on the grappling against A.J. Cunningham. And I should have seen it coming. 3-fight winning streak. He had used grappling in his other fights, but Nonetheless, this one I turned off. 18 significant strikes to 16, 77 total strikes to 19, 5 of 10 on takedowns, 8 minutes of control time. This was AJ Cunningham just getting out grappled all 3 rounds. 30-27s across the board. Su Young Yu keeps the win streak alive at 4 straight wins. Good whip. Good stuff. Good stuff for Su Young Yu. 4-fight winning streak now. I mean, all decisions, so nothing really exciting. So I think him versus Carlos Vera would do just fine. I mean, 29 years old, Su Young Yu is closer to him than Josias Musasa was. So, Su Young Yu, you can keep that. As far as the fight goes, I mean, it was literally 2 of 3 on takedowns in round 1, 1 of 3 on takedowns in round 2, 2 of 4 in round 3, and I will say he got better with the takedowns as the fight went on. AJ, 0-2 in the UFC. Also lost on Davis Contreras series. There's nothing left for him to do in the UFC. Match him up with Josias Musasa if you want to, but if he gets kicked out, I will not riot. I will not complain. I'll just go, oh well, AJ Cunningham, it is what it is. Su Young Yu will improve to a record of 15-3. Good stuff for him. Su Young Yu, match up with Carlos Vera, match up with whoever. I don't mind at all. Tell you what I do mind, and that's the fact that Waldo Cortez Acosta, welcome to the heavyweight division. I'm finally taking him legit now as he finishes Ryan Superman Spann. He was ranked at number 12. I wouldn't be mad if he got bumped up 2 spots. Waldo, welcome to the rankings. I absolutely love it. He was already in them, but no one was really legitimizing the bottom 5 of the men's top 15 at heavyweight. But right here, did what he had to do. Outstruck Ryan Spann 27-12 in round 1. Then Ryan Spann failed a takedown attempt. Waldo Cortez got on top and TKO'd him until we got the finish. Great stuff for Salsa Boy Waldo Cortez Acosta. 4 straight wins in the UFC and now 6-1 overall record in the UFC. Second finish here. Great to see for him. Waldo Cortez Acosta now has, if I can find it, where is it? 6 knockouts, 7 finishes. Good stuff for Salsa Boy. For Ryan Spann, dude, brutal stuff. Brutal stuff, Ryan. He is now a awful 1-4 in his last 5. You could even say 3-6 in his last 9. And just getting finished again. Tough luck for Ryan Spann. There's other options if he wants to stay at heavyweight. I don't really know, any off the top of my mind. There's a ton of unranked heavyweights. You always throw out your Muhammad Usmans. You could throw out your, I actually think him versus Sadada Diaz could be a super fun fight, but Ryan didn't really show much at heavyweight, just got a bit larger. As for Waldo Cortez Acosta, took out a guy who usually fights 50 pounds lighter than him and did what he had to do. So, great win for Waldo. I will reward him with a matchup. I don't know who, so apparently Shamil Gaziev and him, they're both coming off of some wins, so they're probably fighting different people. Tai Tuivasa is out till 2026. Marcin Tybura at 8 is fighting Mick Parkin, so there's 2 people. 2 people for Shamil Gaziev and Waldo Cortez Acosta. You got Derek Lewis, you got Sergey Spivak. I want to see Shamil versus Sergey Spivak, and that leaves you with the option Derek Lewis, Waldo Cortez Acosta. And as we've learned, if you can get past Derek Lewis, you can make or break it in the UFC. You can really do good. And Derek Lewis is at a point in his career, he's just fighting to fight. There's no titles on the line. So Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis, a striking affair. If Waldo can get past him, which, if he uses his distant boxing, which isn't the most entertaining, but whatever you got to do to win. If he can use his kind of distant striking to beat Derek Lewis, hey, you're in the top 10 then. So Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis, that's the fight I'm booking. With that, we got to the final prelim of the evening, and oh my goodness, it was so good. It was so good. Kevin Vallejos, I knew the kid was good. 23, getting his 11th knockout here, 4 straight wins, and I mean, what a beautiful knockout of Sung Woo Choi. I mean, he clipped Sung, he clipped him, dropped him, went to the ground, and the ground and pound was just so calculated. Sung was trying to hang on to his body. He was able to use the elbow, the forearm to push him off and just laid into him. Oh my gosh. Kevin Vallejos, get me all hype. Absolutely love it. Reppin' Argentina. We need more Argentinas. We got Esteban Ribovics. Now we got Kevin Vallejos. 2-0 now in the, actually no, this was his UFC debut. He won on Davis Contender Series in September actually. Both round 1 finishes, so good stuff for Kevin Vallejos. Called out Gene Silva, as Gene Silva is the only man to beat him by decision, so I like to call out Kevin. Unfortunately, Gene Silva is on to the top 15, probably the top 10 if he beats Bryce Mitchell at featherweight. So Kevin, you'll just have to kind of bounce around the unranked scene of the featherweights, which there's others out there. I'm sure there's other featherweights he could take on. You got, Who's a featherweight I could give him? I don't know. They're gonna give him pick-me-up fights. I'm sure of it. For Seungwei Choi, was it the Sting? Seungwei Sting Choi, that will be his last fight in the UFC. 2-fight losing streak, knocked out both. He's also gone 1-5 over his last 6. It was fun watching him knock out Julian Erosa, seeing him fight Yusuf Zalal, but yeah, Seungwoo Choi will sadly leave the UFC with an 11-8 record. As for Kevin, I mean, 15-1 now, or is it? Yeah, 15-1. Looking to be primed for the rankings. Anyone on this card I can matchmake him with? No. There's really no featherweights out there. I'm trying to think of some name for Kevin. There's a ton of unranked names I could surely look up, but I don't know. Andre Touchy-Feely? There's a name for you. How about that for you? Andre Touchy-Feely versus him. Unless Andre wants to move up to lightweight. I don't know. I doubt it. With that, we dove into our main card and we kick things off in the light heavyweight division with Brenson Ribeiro and Dayar Nergohaz. And Dayar Nergohaz was supposed to be the big siding to the heavyweight divisions of the UFC. Now he chose to fight at light heavyweight. Actually weighed in 5 pounds heavy for their matchup. That should have been a sign of the times, as Brenson Ribeiro really made great work of him. And honestly, I've kind of forgotten that Brenson Ribeiro was at one time coming in as a crazy prospect, then ran into Zhang Mingyang, who's super good, got out grappled by Magomed Ankalaev, but now he's on a 2-fight winning streak. Just got a beautiful finish here of Dayar Nergohaz, and how about that? 7th career win by submission, 16 of his wins coming by finish, which is a 16 divided by 17. I don't know, that is like a 90-something% finish rate. Great stuff to see. As for Dayar Nergohaz, I mean, he was 10-0. He's now 10-1. Another undefeated fighter drops. I would Google, or I would try and do it myself, how many undefeated fighters have lost this year compared to who many have won. But I'm just going to let someone else do that, and I'll come across the post on Instagram, and then I'll bring it up. But, I mean, Dayar might get cut. I mean, dude got dropped in round 1, thought he was going to get knocked out, then goes for a takedown in round 2, gets it, gets reversed, Brenson takes his back, and then is able to reverse it into a Kimura. I mean, crazy work here, getting the Kimura finish off. Brenson Ribeiro, you are going to stick around in the light heavyweight division. I don't even know who he could take on. Now, he's not fighting someone in the rankings per se, but there's a bunch of other light heavyweights that are just floating around. Maybe like a Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute could be a fun fight for him to take. Jimmy Crute just keeps running into awkward matchups left, right, and center. So Jimmy Crute could be someone that he could take on. As for Dayar, if you're going to keep him here, I mean, give him a pick-me-up fight or something, but dude was not showing out. They could not break anyone into the heavyweight or light heavyweight divisions. You know, I remember 2020, I remember 2021 when we had Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn on the rise, Sergey Spivak having a career revitalization in 2020 into 2022, you know, Halton Almeida making a rise in those years, but since then, there's been no one. Light heavyweight division, I mean, just the gap between Brenson Ribeiro, Dayar Nergohaz versus, say, Jiri Prochazka, Jan Blachowicz, Alexander Rakic is so crazy, the skill level discrepancy. It's almost just silly. It's almost just silly to me, but good stuff there. The only crazier thing was the next matchup, bantamweight action, as Damon Blackshear. I had him winning, but getting another Kimura finish. Not even the fact we got 2 Kimuras on the same card, 2 Kimuras back-to-back. Excellent win for Damon Blackshear. Make it 11 career submissions. Are you freaking kidding me? 16-7 record now a 2-fight winning streak, and he should have gotten a performance bonus here. Great work for Damon Blackshear. And mind you, last 2 guys that he has lost to in the UFC, actually, if we want to be super legit and talk about the 3 guys that he's lost to in the UFC, you got the number 12 ranked featherweight, Yusuf Zalal, the number 15th ranked bantamweight, Montel Jackson, and the number 10 ranked, Mario Batista. So Damon has only lost to the best of the best, and he makes work of Cody Gibson here. Now, round 1, Cody outstruck him 32-6, defended 4 takedowns. Cody Gibson was looking good, but it just takes one. Damon looking for the takedown. Cody then decides to go for it, and as he's going for it, gets into top control. Then Damon is able to move it into side control, cranks the Kimura, and Cody did not want his arm broken. So good work for Damon Blackshear. He's 30. Cody Gibson's 37. So I think Cody's at the latter stage of his career. In the second run in the UFC, he's gone 2-3. Mind you, he had a fight of the night, the open fighter, and he got an arm triangle with Brian Keller, but, I mean, I'm sure they'll keep him around to fight some hungry up-and-comer in the men's bantamweight division, but as far as anything else that goes, this was just Damon Blackshear looking like an absolute savage, and I'd love to see him in the rankings. This really is anyone for him to fight. Kyler Phillips, maybe, but I'm sure they'll give him some form of pick-me-up fight. He can't really break into the rankings if Montel Jackson hasn't gotten a fight since then. So, Damon Blackshear, good stuff, good finish. Just keep stringing the wins. Just keep stringing the wins. You're 30 years old. You'll be back to a title shot in no time. Trust me, brother. Trust me. You keep this up. I do say he has to work on his striking. He's a pure grappler, but if he can put some stuff together, he'll be getting into the rankings sooner rather than later. After that, lightweight action, and the decisions were just all boring. You're either getting a finish or a boring decision. There really wasn't an in-between. This one competitive to an extent, but Alexander Hernandez gets the unanimous decision over Kurt Holloway, which I was so happy to see, but a lot of people were saying that Kurt should have actually won. Totals from the fight, 71 single strikes to 59 in favor of Kurt, 108 total strikes to 87 in favor of Kurt, 4 of 5 on takedowns, though, go to Alexander Hernandez for 6 minutes, 39 seconds of control time. Round 1, Kurt outstrikes him 26 to 22. Alexander landed 1 takedown near the end. Round 2, Kurt outstrikes him 38 to 30, but is taken down once for 2 minutes control time. And then round 3, Alexander goes full grappler, 4.5 minutes of control time on the round. So if anything, it kind of came down to how you scored rounds 1 and 2. I had Alexander winning. We had a 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. I think everyone kind of agreed Alexander Hernandez was the winner. And it was probably the best for business decision. I'm just going to say, he ain't no spring chicken, but he's 32 compared to Kurt, who's 38. That does probably play an impact. Alexander, 2-fight winning streak now, back in the win column, got a little win streak going on. There's not much for him, though. There really isn't at lightweight. I mean, there's a fight with Manuel Torres and Drew Dober coming up. I think Manuel Torres, if he loses, he should fight Alexander Hernandez. Even Drew Dober could be a fun fight. You also have, I'd say Jalen Turner for a pick-me-up fight, but Jalen Turner, I'm pretty sure, is going to stay retired, sadly. And, even the loser of Benoit Saint Denis and Joel Alvarez, when that happens, there's a lot of options for Alexander. We'll have to see. As for Kurt, since his return to the UFC, he's got win-loss. He's sitting at 2-2. 38 years old, they might just cut him. They might say we've seen enough, or they give him someone on the prelims. But Kurt, either's going to be tuning up a fight with someone or cut from the UFC. Just kind of average. But hey, he submitted Austin Hubbard to win the Ultimate Fighter. Kurt Albo won the Ultimate Fighter. I think most people forget that. Just kind of how it goes. Co-main event actually was surprising. Chidi and Chucani versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I was hesitant coming in, but when it came to fruition, it rocked. And Chidi, the underdog, knew he would win, getting his 15th career finish. Good freaking work. And this is one of those finishes where no setup, just kind of happens. So you're kind of like, okay, I rock with this. Chidi and him going at it in round 1. Chidi outstrikes him 23-9. Very competitive. Elizeu went 1 of 4 on takedowns, just got just about over a minute of control time. And it was pretty even. Everyone's kind of like, I think Chidi won this. It was pretty back and forth. We then get into round 2 as it's going. They're kind of going at it, and then all of a sudden they're in the clinch. And Chidi throws a knee as Elizeu goes to move back. Knee hits him clean on his face. Out he goes. Couple of follow-up punches. That was that. A knee knockout in the clinch for Chidi and Chucani. The knee landed perfectly on the chin, and that was that. It was like a UFC 5 EA Sports finish right there. Great work. Great work for Chidi. 3-0 at welterweight. Now got a finish. Dude, I don't know what to do with him. I really don't. He's kind of been just stacking up some wins, low-key, at welterweight. He's 36 years old. I don't want to give him a ranked opponent. That's the thing. There's really no one in the rankings for him to fight. But, there's options. Is Rafael dos Anjos retired? I think him versus Rafael dos Anjos could be a fun fight at welterweight. You have Neil Magny, if Neil Magny wants to still kick it. You have Randy Brown. You have, Charles Radke. There's a plethora of options for him. So Chidi, keep stacking him up, came in the UFC 3-0, then lost his last 3, and then he's won his last 3. None bigger than this one. Great stuff for Chidi and Chucani. For Elizeu, dude is 38, killing it whenever he fights. He's 1-3 in his last 4, but whoever you throw at him, he usually delivers a close competitive fight. Win or lose, they can bring him back, they can cut him. I don't really know what to do with him. I'm sure they'll find a fun fight for him, but hey, there's always like a Jake Matthews. That could be a fun fight. Jake Matthews, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Just an idea. Gonna throw it out there, but decent co-main event. When I look at all the co-main events for the year, I'm not gonna make like a video on it or anything, but when I kind of think in my head, like, oh, what were some good co-main events? What were some bad ones? I mean, for an Apex co-main event, getting a quick finish like that, good to see. Great win for Chidi and Chukani. Then we got to the main event, ladies and gentlemen, and I know I was hoping it would be different. I was hoping something would change, but 141 strikes to 111. Roman Dolidze wins a 5-round boring decision over Marvin Vettori. And, people were saying 48-46. This was a 48-47. Could have gone either way. Rounds, I'm trying to think. Round 2, if I'm trying to think, you had round 3 really went to Marvin. I gave Marvin round 1, and it was round 2, I think, where he almost knocked Dolidze out. There was one moment where he almost dropped him. So I had it 3-2 for Dolidze, but I mean, Dolidze just actually poured it on in round 4 and 5. Outstruck him by 11-5 and by 16-4. Marvin didn't even attempt a takedown. Roman attempted one takedown in round 3. That was that. Didn't even got like 15 seconds after Marvin stuffed it, but just pitiful performance from Marvin Vettori. No urgency, no intensity, and we talked about his chin. I mean, he faced a couple clean shots, but nothing to write home about. I mean, I'm going to be honest, this is just kind of like, Marvin, you're losing this fight, do something, and, he just didn't do anything. Marvin's never been someone to hunt for a finish, and I think it's hurting him. Truly, I think it's hurting him. He's 30 now. He's now 19-8, which isn't even a bad record, but dropped his last 2. He's 1-3 in his last 4. Mind you, 2-4 in his last 6. I mean, it's just unfortunate. So Marvin's going to need to do something to turn things around. He's ranked 8. Dolidze was ranked 12. I mean, Marvin's probably going to be ranked number 10 now. I'm moving Dolidze up to 8, and Anthony Hernandez can stay at number 9. So, Vettori will be at 10. I don't really know who he should fight next. You got the winner of Rainer De Ritter and Bo Nickel. You got Roman Kopilov. I mean, honestly, that's about it. Him versus Brendan Allen, you could rebook that. Marvin will get another UFC fight, but if he wants to make a run to the title, mind you, he's only 30. He's got like 5 or 6 more years left in his prime. You gotta do something. If he peaked in 2021 to 2022, I mean, I swear that is embarrassing, Marvin. Now, as for Roman Dolidze, completely different end of the spectrum. 36, 3-fight winning streak, no bigger than this one in a main event. How about that? He's in his prime. He called out Robert Whittaker. It felt like a silly call out, and Whittaker even said, what do I get from fighting him? I'll probably beat him. And to be honest, he's probably right. So what are the options for Roman Dolidze? 3 straight wins now. Mind you, not too bad at ones. Anthony Smith, Kevin Holland, Marvin Vettori. Dolidze's been fighting some killers. 50-3 record now. If it's up to me, I'm just going to do some process of elimination here. You're going to have DDP versus Hamza. Hamza is ranked number 3. You have Sean Strickland at 2. And I don't know what to do with him, but I would love for him to fight Robert Whittaker. If Whittaker's not going to fight your Nasruddin Imavovs or Kyle Barallos, which Nasruddin he doesn't deserve, but I think that you do Sean Strickland versus Robert Whittaker. And that would be a test of who's going to remain relevant and get a potential 3rd title shot, or however you want to view their title shots they get, and who's going to be moving down bottom of the barrel. That's what you do there. Nasruddin, you wait for the winner of DDP and Hamzat. I mean, you wait for the winner. The winner, Nasruddin has earned himself a title shot there, which leaves you Kyle Barallo, okay, and Israel Adesanya. Now, I think Kyle Barallo has earned a fight with Whittaker, Adesanya, or Strickland. I'm going to book Barallo versus Adesanya just because I think that's how it's going to go, which leaves me Jared Cannonier and pretty much Roman Dolidze. I know Anthony Hernandez was calling out Jared Cannonier, so you could fit those 2 in somehow, but middleweight's getting a bit crowded at the top. Roman Dolidze has joined the fray of winners compared to losers, and if it's up to me, I'm just going to say he sits this out. Unless he wants to fight down against Paulo Costa and just accept that Paulo Costa is a good name to have on your roster. I don't know, but those are your options for Roman Dolidze. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got. That's all we got for that card. I mean, it was a good card. It was a good card overall. I mean, better than UFC Vegas 101. I honestly can't even remember 102. If I'm being honest, what even was UFC Vegas 102? I'm probably going to mind blank when I see it, but you had 103. You had, Cannonier versus RoboCop was 102. I can't even remember some of these cards, but this one's pretty good. A lot of finishes. Can't hate. The next few we got, though, I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal. We're going to London. Then we're going to Mexico. Then we're going to... Are we going back to the Apex? Start of April. I know we're going to Miami and we're going to Kansas City, but I'm trying to think where else we're going. But fun cards ahead. That's all we got for today's episode. As you know, we're going to be doing lots of podcasts this week. I'm going to be doing my own UFC London predictions, making a March Madness bracket on one episode, and we are probably going to be started as a special guest on someone else's podcast. Absolutely. We'll see. I'll keep you all in the loop. But guys, live a fantastic life. Do whatever you want, but within boundaries. You know, set boundaries for yourself, know what's good, know what's bad, and always give glory to God in all situations. Remain holy, remain faithful, and chase your dreams. People, follow your dreams, follow your heart. It's all the motivation I got for you. You know who you're speaking with right now? The marketing student of the year for Minnesota State Mankato. What can I say? Your host is just like that. Guys, have a great day. And as always, I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.